Welcome to the podcast, Allie. How are you today?
I'm good.
Yes.
I'm awake. How are you?
You're awake.
Yeah.
That's the best way to start the day, isn't
Caffeinated, ready to go.
I'm well, thank you. And you're here today to talk to us about body inclusivity, but also particularly, as you were saying to me before, fat phobia and what that entails, because I didn't know about it until you've brought it up just now. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how your relationship with your own body?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I'm 23. I've gone through the teenage thing. I'm still going through the adult thing. But I did the teenage girl thing, and I've been a big person my entire life. I sort of associated, as most people who grew up, I guess I was going to say like my age group, our age group, but I guess like even before that, there's always been this idea of like the ideal beauty standard is the tall, thin, beautiful, you know? And I'm short and fat and cute. So like it was just a whole new like ball game of learning that that's an okay thing to be, because for the longest time, fat was the worst thing you could be, right? Like fat was in this category of like gross, and it meant the same thing as like gross or disgusting, right? And I feel as though like in my teenagehood, I went through this period of realizing that a lot of my friends were tall and thin and beautiful, and just going, okay, where is the line where you're no longer just like thick and hot? Where is the line when you're a fat person? And why is that a negative thing? And why is that I guess my relationship with my body now is a lot different to how it was when I was growing up. But I feel as though the like messages around body positivity and inclusivity and understanding your own body and your own body image and understanding of that body image has changed so much. So I make like body positive videos and TikToks and Instagram posts and work in fashion.
Plug your TikTok here.
If you want to follow me on TikTok, it's at Eleonora_. That's me.
Eleonora_.
Yeah,
Very nice.
it's just an underscore. So I guess that's my relationship with my body is, it's all based on, as everyone's is, it's all based on what we learnt growing up. And then we came back from it and we make our own interpretations of what's hot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And how, I mean, I hate being like, let's talk about when it was painful. But when you were in high school and you were, you know, these thoughts are going around in your head and you're trying to organize them in a way that is positive. What was that like? What were you feeling in high school?
Yeah, I think it's just you feel like the odd one out. And it's always sort of, I feel like it came up when I went shopping with my friends. It was like, I would always be like, let me find the biggest size at the back of the rack, or like, let me uncomfortably not be able to shop in this store with you. I was lucky that I was sort of in straight sizes until like end of high school-ish. But I think for a lot of, especially women, and people that like live life under the assumption of being a woman, have this like really negative association with clothes shopping overall. Like it's stressful, it's overwhelming, and it's something I did in high school with my friends on the weekends. I also played sport. I was in a soccer team, and a lot of other sports, and that was another big thing. It felt like it was like negative that I was big kid. Like I was quick, I was fast, but I was always been the chubby kid. I was a chubby kid and then I was the fat kid. And it was like, first off, it was shopping, and then it was boys, and it was like, oh, none of the boys are going to find me attractive because I'm not this like thin, beautiful thing. That didn't end up being an issue, because boys aren't that great. But like it was like an ongoing thing. And then there was social media and the process of like social media becoming this massive thing in the early 2000s, like late 2000s. It like took off, and all you saw were these beautiful pictures of girls. And then there was the memes that were like cropped images of like girls who would be like, oh, just a picture of my face, and then I'll hide the rest of my body so they don't know that I'm fat. And like there was a scene on Euphoria where do you know the one?
Barbie
yeah.
Barbie Ferrer, yes.
Yes, and she literally was like, I spent my whole life like worried that someone was going to find out that I was fat, and I did the exact same thing. And it's because we're taught that we're supposed to wear these like if you're fat, you have to hide it. You have to wear flattering things. I hate that word. You have to wear flattering things. You have to wear flowy things, like things that make you look
Black,
feminine.
so that it makes you look
Black.
slimming.
You wear a stripe that's only like a vertical, never a horizontal to make you look wider. Like there's all these rules and like ways you should live your life, and you can't eat certain foods around your friends. And it's like this like layer upon layer of thing that just happened through school that I grew into with university as well. And then like now life that is outside of studying, what's that? It's like this whole other, it's the world of fashion and media, and it's somewhere I want to work. And it's like, wow, is there space for a fat person, I guess? Yeah. Sorry, I felt like I roundabout answered your question.
No. You're explaining it very well. I wonder when it sounds like coming into a level of acceptance, and this is not me saying that every day is a good day, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
There wasn't a distinct moment. It's been a gradual building effect. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. I think I started finding myself in these like body positive spaces and like not, I'm just going to be quite frank, not hating myself. I feel like so many like people, let alone like fat people, thin people, anyone, so many people have something that they hate so much about their bodies. Like everybody has something they don't like about their bodies, as we were saying before.
Yeah.
But I feel as though it was like, it felt gradual. And then I genuinely woke up one day, like smack bang in the middle of the pandemic last year, and just went, oh, I actually like think I'm kind of cool. And I think I'm kind of hot. And I think I'm going to tell people about it. And people listened. And they resonated with this idea that like people are allowed to think highly of themselves, and it's not this like taboo thing anymore. So if I wasn't going to have some beautiful swishy head boy in high school tell me that I was pretty, I was going to think I was pretty, and it didn't matter. And that it genuinely feel like it happened I fell in love the way you fall asleep slowly and then all at once. That's it. That was my high school. And then yeah, it was literally just last year, like I was 22 and I just suddenly was like, oh, I'm pretty cool. It was super weird. But
were there any influences along the way that encouraged? I mean, I know the obvious one only because she's taken over the last 2 years of our lives. Lizzo.
Oh yeah, we love Lizzo.
We always love Lizzo.
We do.
But have there been any other like positive influences?
I remember, like Glee. Like just seeing fat girls on Glee was really cool. Like just like that being a thing. I mean, it was problematic as all heck. And
Glee's always.
Oh my God, put Matthew Morrison in jail. But they had like so many like, oh my God, probably. Do you know that like the way that they had storylines about fat girls that weren't about them being fat, which I really liked. They also had problematic storylines about fat girls being fat, but they like there are characters that exist that don't have to have all of their stories be about that thing. It's like the same. They have queer characters that their entire storyline doesn't have to be about being queer.
I also distinctly remember in Glee, Puck was into. What was her? There was a girl and she was bigger.
Yeah,
and
he sang "Fat Bottom Girls" to her, and I remember being like, okay, what are we doing here?
But more so than that, I remember her being like, I am so hot.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that was really cool. That, despite the storyline from him was I'm into bigger women.
Yeah,
like, take
for sure.
me. Her going around and being like, I don't want you.
She was like, hello, most beautiful man in the world. I am actually way hotter than you and I don't need you.
I don't want you around.
Right?
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Very cool. Very, very cool. And we've spoken about Euphoria.
Euphoria was a big one. I think also just like, I feel like there were these countering influences from like Disney Channel and Nickelodeon and all of these like teenagery shows. And then Australian television, they were just beautiful blonde, tall, thin, tan white people, right? And I think the distinction that I was finding was like, there's a lot of fat people featured in reality television, like in different layers of it. But like, I feel like we saw one type of like body in media, and then social media happened, right? So I think it was Queen Lizzo. It was Queen Lizzo. It was all the queens that came before her. Like, it was these women that have these big, powerful voices, whether in media or in music. And you see them and you hear them and you feel their presence. And it's like, go off. Like,
And so feel your presence is a huge thing. And and you know what? It's not correlating with weight or whatever.
No.
It's correlating with somebody that knows their worth.
oh, yeah.
And
they know they're cool.
And they know, and it comes through really strong in those women who, especially singers. I mean, you do jazz singing, is that right?
Yeah, I'm a jazz
The jazz
singer.
greats, like they're all
big women with big voices, right? And it's not because they're big women. It's because they know how to like. Oh, there's a I can't even remember it. There's a musical and there's a chick. I don't remember, but there's a line that's like it's in Hairspray. It's I'm not afraid to throw my weight around, and I literally just remember hearing that and being like, neither am I. Like it's just it's this like overwhelming sense that you understand your value, so other people will see and respect your value because you do. And not that it should matter what other people do, but if you do it first, it 100% reflects outwards. It's the same way, like, I love the beach. I love going to the beach. I love wearing so many different pairs of swimmers. I have like a dedicated shelf just to swimwear because I love it so much. And like, there's something about, I was talking to my housemate about this yesterday actually. There's something about being a fat girl on a beach in a bikini and seeing a fat girl on a beach in a bikini and being like, what up, girl? Yeah, we're both okay, cute. And it's like, it's something ridiculously empowering that I would not have done as a teenager.
Yeah.
Like, I was always in shorts and like a t-shirt over my top and be like, don't look at my body. And now I'm like, look at my body. I am giving you permission. How good is this natural moment going on, you know?
I don't know. Did you ever watch The US Office?
Oh, I sure did. I recently actually watched all of it for the first time.
Daryl jumping into the pool. He's like really into this girl and she's swimming in the pool. She's like, come in. And he's like, no, it's fine. And he's wearing his longer top and he's sitting there having a drink. And then at the end of the episode, he realizes that everyone is having so much fun and that the girl that he really wants to like be with is having fun with other people and not with him. And he just cannonballs straight in.
That's me. 100% me. I'm like, I see everyone in the body positivity community. I'm a dive right on into that. Yeah, it's great. There's so many influences. That's the other thing. Like, you look at it, something like that. Everyone has that like specific like moment they connected with someone on television or in media and went, oh, that's a story like my story, right? And the more that we see these characters and the more that we see like positive representations of like women of all body shapes and sizes and people of all body shapes and experiences, right? It's like you see something that looks like you or that feels like you reflected and it's like, oh, I am cool.
Yeah. No.
They are.
I get that completely. Like, and even in terms of women identifying people, where's your place in society, etc. Julia Louis-Dreyfus was a huge thing for me about being a short, loud, very physical person.
Yep.
And seeing her in both Seinfeld and Veep, I was like, okay, I know how to operate in space now. I know how to be charismatic or be loud. And she gave permission for that. And so that's just my personal.
Same.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Like Melissa McCarthy or like Rebel Wilson, even though that's a whole thing now. But like seeing, I get what you mean. You see women that are representative of you. Seeing like Adie Bryant on SNL, she literally would just get up. I don't think I've seen a sketch about her weight. I don't think I've seen a mention. She had like, she did a panel or something. I can't even remember. And she was just talking about it. And she was like, I just get up and make comedy because I'm funny and it has nothing to do with anything else. And we're like, yeah. And that's how men get those jobs, right?
So why
they're just
shouldn't it
funny.
be?
So why shouldn't women just be able to get those jobs because they're funny too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to ask about fat phobia.
Sure.
I've never heard the term before. And I personally am very scared of saying the word fat because I've grown up with all these negative connotations and I don't want anyone to think that I feel, you know what?
That you're being like offensive.
Being offensive. What, could you explain this?
Yeah.
Is it a movement
I think fat phobia, especially internalized fat phobia, it's a thing we've all sort of struggled with. It's the like, I think fat phobia comes from this idea that fat is it's a bad word. It's a bad thing to be. It's a negative feeling and emotion. And like a lot of people I feel like people lean into that as well, and people will still be uncomfortable and offended by the word. And that's like, of course, like trauma means that we are offended and uncomfortable by words. And that's also completely fair. But I feel as though fat phobia as a concept, it's this idea. Yeah, it is. It's that idea that we're lesser or worse if we're more physically, right? And I think the movement away from that and the movement into like acceptance and like seeing bodies of all different like shapes and sizes everywhere is this really like magical, important thing. And especially with like, I feel like the body image movement and like the movement away from fat phobia, it started with like fat black women who would, like Lizzo, who would just
Yeah.
come up and be like, hello, hi, this is what I look like.
This is what a body looks
This
like.
is what a body looks like.
Yeah.
And it came from there, and it moved like through the queer community, and it moves through like all of these like marginalized groups. It comes to this point of acceptance, and like celebration is the one slightly above acceptance. So we see those things, and then we see acceptance, and then in the middle somewhere is Meghan Trainor, right? So it's this like all about that base moment where it's like we have a space to be and exist and not have our weight or our shape physically or like emotionally or anything negatively impact our careers, our lifestyle, our choice of clothing, our
Yeah.
options for fashion. Like it's this idea that more is less,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, I think that's kind of the concept of fat phobia. And I so understand the like want or need to not use the word or to feel uncomfortable with the word, because you and I grew up especially in like this era of like,
Skinny people.
right? And that's the only thing. Like, it was just thin people. It was thin people.
It was the same girls on Disney Channel, like
Yep.
from 4 o'clock till 9 o'clock whenever you went to bed.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I think also for me, when I associate body positivity, the most people I see are influencers talking about accepting their body. And I do think that's valid and stuff. But sometimes, I guess that's what interested me about this word and about you labeling it specifically, was that it took it away from that. That
It's not negative. It's a descriptive word.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I think I had a really weird moment a few weeks ago where one of my friends, skinny white boy, just said, like, referred to me as a fat person. And I immediately was like, oh, I was a little bit stung by that when that's
Okay.
something. So I
Yeah.
still struggle with it day to day. Like, it
Yeah.
still comes to my brain. But he was using it as a descriptive term. I was talking about how me and my friend at university, who look nothing alike, we both just happen to be fat girls with like glasses and dark hair, right? And we have a teacher that just constantly is like, oh, Rebecca. And I'm like, Allie, but good try.
Yeah,
This is a really good
yeah.
try. And we were talking about it, and he goes, yeah, I mean, not all fat girls are the same, right? And I was like, yeah. And for some reason, it stung a tiny little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, let's unpack why that hurt.
Yeah.
And I did. And I sort of looked in on it and was like, okay, you fight this all the time. Like, you use that word comfortably. So, like, if it's being used as a descriptive and not derogatory word, should we not be able to just use it?
I think, yeah, like you said, between the difference between acceptance and celebration, similarly, I think there is a difference in you being able to use that word and hearing it from somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's another step in the journey
Yeah.
towards it,
Yeah,
I would
for
say.
sure.
Because my brother is a bigger boy and he refers to himself as being fat.
Yeah.
And only recently he's come into it because he's doing boxing, and all of a sudden his weight is considered
It's good,
a good thing.
right?
It's an advantage.
Yeah.
He's amazing at the sport. Not to mention he's pretty terrifying to look at. So that helps.
Good on him.
But I still find it hard to say those words or anything like that. We'll even be discussing the issue because he has a lot of like negative associations with his body shape that he's undoing now, because
Yeah.
he's realized, he's like, I'm not going to be a skinny boy.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to happen in
Yeah.
my lifetime. And that's it. It's his lifetime. So he needs to figure, like,
Find a way to be comfortable with what you are.
and
or,
be
you know,
happy with it.
happy,
Be happy with
right?
it. And
Then find a way to celebrate it from there. You know,
Find
it's
a
the
way to
same
celebrate it
thing.
from
It's
there.
like comfort, admiration, celebration. It's up there. You know, it's. Yeah, I think I agree.
Yeah.
It's this like changing of how it's the same way we change how we think about like little things like there was like, we thought fabric belts from Supre were the most fashionable things in the world, right? And now we look at that and we're like, oh, choices.
Yeah.
Okay, right? So now we think about like, oh, we thought thin people were the hottest people in the world. And now we look at it differently and go, well, actually, everybody's pretty hot. All bodies are different and all bodies are beautiful in their own way, et cetera, et cetera. And it sounds crap, but it's like, it's legit,
It's
right?
hard to say because like exactly what you said. It sounds fake.
It does. It sounds like it sounds like all bodies are beautiful. But mate, all bodies are pretty beautiful. Like all different, and all for different reasons.
And also, like, I think one of the things that I've learned is that the way a body moves is so individual and so attractive that my body's never going to be able to do the things that your body can or that, you know, whenever I can't run a catwalk like Miranda Kerr, you know, like that's just not going to happen. But my body can do lots of silly things.
Yeah.
Lots of silly cute things.
Same. My body can do lots of like, I don't know. I like to think I'm a bit intimidating when I need to be. Like but also like I know how to make myself feel sexy and hot and appreciated for the way that my body is, right? And like, actually something really interesting, you would probably vibe with this also. Like, even if I lost like 30 kilos and was like built the same way that I am, or like I was just existed the way that I am, right? My shoulders are still the same width as my hips, and that's not going to change. I'm still going to be built like a linebacker. Like I'm still going to be a broad-shouldered person who I hold presence because I've learned to hold up my shoulders as opposed to slumping and hiding, right? And it's not something that changes with your weight. If your weight changes, then your weight changes. If you're making choices based on health or whatever you decide that you want to do with your body, that should be your decision and your thing and not someone else's to comment on, right? So I'm still going to be a big, broad person if I'm a thin, big, broad person.
I think also another thing that you've said really hits home for me and for people that I know, holding your shoulders back.
Oh, yeah.
Like physically, but also
just in general.
Yeah, not
it's
shrinking.
Pride,
yeah.
You know? Exactly. There should be no reason for anyone to feel as though they have to be smaller versions of themselves, literally or figuratively. Like, we're all so cool. Why don't we just I want to find out about all these interesting things that people are. And I don't understand. I do understand. I know exactly why, actually. But I just think it could really make a difference if people just remind themselves to you got to hold yourself up for who you are. And that doesn't happen every day, right? We all there are always going to be shit days, you know, bad days. But I just feel as though it's, you know, it's important to recognize yourself in that way.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you for telling us everything.